There was no other way for me to cope with what was happening as a child. So I imagined my way out of it. I want those fulfilling relationships. I want a career that I love. I want to travel. I want all of this stuff that I daydream about. Why do I still daydream my life away? And there's a name for it, there's a term for it, and there's apparently other people that deal with it. It was mind blowing to me. When she said that, I was so confused. So, when I first realized I had a problem, I was about 28 and I was living in a city by myself with no friends, no family. I had moved for a new job. I was really struggling, like I was really depressed. I had trouble getting out and finding people. But on the good side, I had a chance to like really reflect on my life. But one of those days when I was really reflecting, it kind of just came to me. And I'm pretty sure I was daydreaming while I was doing it. Like all of these memories of how people kind of like noticed that maybe I was making a strange face, or I was really spaced out, or I was like doing a weird movement. And it's like all of those memories came together and it like suddenly clicked. Like maybe I have a problem daydreaming. One of the moments that someone had caught me like making a facial expression when I was daydreaming, I was working at Taco Bell at the time. Was I in high school? No, I was still in college. And one of my coworkers, like I was just at the register, no one was in front of me, but I think I was moving my mouth. And my coworker comes around and she catches me. She's like,
You know, you're really weird. You seem like the person that would shoot up a school one day.
and I was so confused because I didn't realize the facial expression I was making. And when she said that, I was so confused, but I didn't ask her about it. All I did was just laugh, but I was so confused. I probably went home and cried about it, but I never asked her about it or anything. The crazy part is who the coworker was. It's almost comedic because she was like a goth girl. She dressed in all black. I just had to show y'all what I'm talking about. Like, this is exactly how she used to dress. She even had those same piercings. And out of the two of us, she would fit that stereotype. And I laugh now thinking about it because it's hilarious that someone like that told me that I look like who, what school shooter do you know that looks like me? But it always confused me. It wasn't until, having that revelation that I was able to put two and two together because I was daydreaming and I made a facial expression. But back then, I wasn't really conscious of my daydreaming habit. I would just space out and I would start dreaming, and then I would catch myself in a daydream. And yeah, Um, see, I would daydream everywhere at work, at school, in a car, anywhere. Another time was when I was in college and my roommate's friend told my friend,
You know, she's a little weird because, we'll all be talking and then all of a sudden she'll get quiet and she'll space out and in another world.
because I didn't really like that girl anyways, I kind of just brushed off her comments. I never really questioned it. I never said to myself like, maybe I do have a problem. But I didn't like her. She was like, so I guess I never really took her comment really seriously. And That was until like a week later. I happened to be listening to NPR, and I never listened to NPR, but I just so happened to discover the podcast Invisibilia, and they were talking about maladaptive daydreaming. And listening to that was crazy, not only because like just a week before I realized like I had a problem daydreaming, but now I just so happened to come across this podcast, and there's a name for it, there's a term for it, and there's apparently other people that deal with it. And that was so mind blowing just coming across it and listening to someone else so like perfectly explain what the experience is like. Is like it was mind blowing to me. And I felt like really seen because there was someone else that was sharing like an experience that I had that didn't even know I needed to put words to.
Good.
Like,
She says these loyal friends filled her up, gave her understanding, closeness, adventure, and they followed her everywhere.
We accidentally zap back. We're not where we're supposed to be. Are we going to pollute the timeline? How much can we reveal?
Even though marriage and family got Em the closeness she'd missed in childhood, somehow it didn't feel like enough. So to fill in the gaps, Em started carving out hours at a time to daydream, time away from her husband and son.
There are places you can be where you're going to be understood because it's all the characters you create are you.
Em recently started looking for some way to get perspective on all of this, and her search led her to a website for people who call themselves maladaptive daydreamers. People who say they're so obsessed with their fantasies, they can't live their real lives.
a lot of times when I daydream, I'm super outgoing, super charismatic, sociable, basically a social butterfly, what I'm not in real life. So I have these completely different versions of myself, which makes life complicated, of course. But as far as I can remember, I've been called quiet and shy. And of course, I was quiet because I was always in my head daydreaming. What people didn't realize, though, is that I had a whole universe in my head that I would escape to, and they didn't realize why I was doing that. So it started when I was 4, when I was being molested, and I can actually I actually know when I really started daydreaming as a means to escape. I just would stare out a window, and if I knew that if I did that long enough and I just daydreamed about something, it would feel like I'm not there. And after doing this for so long, it's just something that I can easily do. If if I want to escape, I can just shift my attention somewhere else and focus in on whatever I want to, and I can be completely somewhere else. And so that's when it started for me. So that happened for years, and it was my only way of escaping. There was no other way for me to cope with what was happening as a child. So I imagined my way out of it. And looking back as an adult, that's so genius doing that, because not only did it help me get through that difficult time, but also I have very little memories of being molested, or at least the actual act. I have memories of like maybe moments before or moments after, but it's almost like the daydreams almost like erased those painful memories from my mind because I don't really remember it. So I'm grateful that I started daydreaming, but honestly it's just taking over my life as an adult and I really don't want to use it as a way to escape my life anymore. I want to use it in a useful way. Maladaptive daydreaming usually occurs as a coping mechanism in response to trauma, abuse, or loneliness. Sufferers create a complex inner world which they escape to in times of distress by daydreaming for hours. And I didn't realize it was a problem, of course, when I was younger. I had teachers that would comment and say, like, she has potential, but she doesn't seem like all the way here. She daydreams a lot. I had comments like that from teachers. But otherwise, I didn't really get any comments from anybody. My family really normalized my daydreaming. They just took it as a part of who I am. Um they're just like, "Oh, she just daydreams a lot. She zones out a lot." So I never really I don't think I just never gave it that much thought. And because I had been doing it for so long, it's not something that I consciously do. It's just whenever I kind of like am not paying attention, which is a lot because I have ADHD. But whenever I'm not really like paying attention, it's so easy for my mind to just escape. And so I'm just used to thinking in that way. It's just like a program that's just running in my mind. And I'm just used to thinking in that way. I hope that makes sense. So after that podcast, I realized I have maladaptive daydreaming. And essentially, what it is individuals are overwhelmingly consumed by compulsive, addictive engagement in fanciful narrative and emotional daydreams for hours on end at the expense of important life goals, to the point where they feel completely out of control and helpless. Many use repetitive motion, like spinning, pacing, or rocking, to induce a deep state of concentration. Many use music as a trigger. And this is from Psychology Today. So here's a definition that I found on Reddit, which I think is actually better. The user breaks down immersive daydreaming versus maladaptive daydreaming, which is basically immersive daydreaming, but it's actually causing detriment to your life. And really, the key in that is the word maladaptive. If you understand the definition of that, you understand the difference between the two. So what I learned from Reddit is that there are a lot of different type of dreamers. For the most part, there's like fantasy daydreamers where basically they create their own universe with their own characters, which are referred to as paras, apparently. Para, apparently. Anyways. And then there's reality daydreamers, which I'm more so myself a reality daydreamer. And basically I just daydream about like real life situations, people in my life. Um so I basically just daydream life, but a more idealistic version of my life. But time to time, I'll throw in a fantasy daydream, especially like if I'm watching a TV show or a movie or maybe reading a book that inspires it. Like the other day, I was watching Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, and You don't think I had a daydream about like surviving in an apocalyptic world? Of course I did. But yeah, a lot of my daydreams are involuntary. I don't intend to daydream. I just find myself in a daydream. So that's interesting. And I found that not everybody does that. For me, I don't need to rock or pace back and forth. I don't really need any of that. I don't even need a trigger really. I can just, if I wanted to daydream right now, all I would have to do is just look out of a window and just focus on whatever I wanted to, and I'll be gone. So, what makes maladaptive daydreaming different from regular daydreaming is how immersive it can be and how lengthy it can be. I can spend hours daydreaming to the point where I dissociate. So when I come back from out of that fantasy world that I've been in for so long, it feels almost jarring coming back to my senses, and it'll take a while for me to realize like this is real and what I was experiencing wasn't. How I would best explain it to someone that doesn't deal with this is like being in virtual reality. Like you put on a headset and suddenly you're in a different world. It's somewhat like that. Um, it had gotten to the point that I felt more comfortable daydreaming and just in another state, in another reality that I created for myself, that it felt more comfortable than being in real life. So I would spend more and more time in that state versus being present in my real life and meeting new people and working towards like goals and aspirations. I was daydreaming about it. So, since I've been doing more research and more conscious and aware of my daydreaming, it's kind of like it kind of bursts my bubble. It kind of ruins the fantasy of it because I'm more conscious of how I like my true self differs from my ideal self that I daydream about. And that causes me to be unhappy, really, because I know I have the potential to do more if I took the time and the actions needed to go towards my goals. But instead, I spend so much time daydreaming. Eventually, you're going to want the real thing. I don't want to daydream about like having this amazing career, but in reality, I'm working a dead end job that I hate going to every day. I don't want to daydream about like all the travels that I want to go to and not be able to do that. It's just not satisfying anymore. Daydreaming, it used to be something that used to, I guess, satisfy that longing for something else. But now I do it out of habit now just because that's what I'm used to. But I'm at the point where I really want more. When I wake up from this dream, I'm stuck in this reality that I'm not happy with. I want those fulfilling relationships. I want a career that I love. I want to travel. I want all of this stuff that I daydream about. And I know I deserve it. So why do I still daydream my life away? Well, I've just made it a habit. I'm addicted to escaping, and daydreaming is not the only way I escape. I do a little too, and I I want this in real life. So I let so much time pass by that instead of like putting that time to use like improving my social skills, working on my career goals, meeting new people, all of that I really desire. I just let time pass me by. I literally have lost years of my life just in a fantasy world. And at the time, it was something that would bring me happiness. But now I feel like there there's something missing in life because that doesn't exist in my present moment. So not only does it help me escape the present, but it also taints the present because reality never happens the way that I picture it when I daydream. And that kind of ruins the situation for me. So, for example, say I'm starting a new job and I daydream about like being this great employee. I have great coworkers. My boss is great. I love my work. But when then I get to the job and it's completely different, I don't like it. My coworkers are not great. You see what I'm saying? Like, if I always daydream about an idealistic version of something and then experiencing it in real life turns out different, it's it just leaves me unsatisfied with life. I'm always expecting things to go better or expecting things to turn out in a way instead of just letting things happen the way they're supposed to. Yeah. Think that's probably the biggest downside of being a reality daydreamer. It's one thing to fantasize about something completely different from your own life, but when you're daydreaming about like real life and people that exist in your real life, it really just taints your present. Yeah, it makes things a lot more complicated, especially in terms of dating, which I probably will do a maladaptive daydreaming and dating video. Um, just having this magical thinking about reality, how I feel reality should go, creates a lot of just unhappiness and disdain for life because it's never going to turn out how I daydream about it. Do I still daydream? Yes, it's just something I do out of habit. I do it a lot less, at least I think so. I don't really time myself, but it's a lot less fun being conscious and aware that I do it. And I also feel like really attached to daydreaming. It's something I've been doing for so long. It's a habit. It feels like a part of who I am. It's just how I think. Also, there's just everyday triggers um that I have that I can't really escape. Um some of my triggers are just looking out a window. There's a window in front of me right now, and just looking out it makes me want to daydream. It's just a trigger. Music is a trigger. Going on walks is a trigger. Um, being out in nature is a trigger. Riding in the car is a trigger. Staring at clouds is a trigger. It's like something I really can't get away from. So if it's something that's really hard to avoid, something that I feel that is a part of me, surely I can make it fit my life, right? If there maladaptive daydreaming is a thing, then adaptive daydreaming is a thing. And having my mind wander from time to time is one thing, but I don't really want to be completely immersed in a different reality. And taking a break from life is okay, but I don't want to use it as a means to escape my real life. And daydreaming is fun, but real life is better. I don't want daydreaming to be my main source of joy. And I want to use it to visualize to help me achieve my goals instead of it preventing me from going after my goals. I do feel like it can be helpful in certain ways. For example, I use my daydreams all the time as introspection. It really helps me figure out what's going on underneath the surface. It helps me uncover what otherwise would have remained buried. Personally, I feel like it really gives me insight into what is going on in my life at that point. I feel like the characters I create, the themes, they all kind of show what is going on like internally. Um like it really lets me in on like my subconscious thoughts, my subconscious desires and feelings. I'm just trying to change how I view my daydreaming. I can look at it as something negative, or I can view all of these creative ideas, these visions, these downloads as something that I can create something with. I can put all of it towards something that actually makes me feel engaged with life versus just daydreaming about it and feeling like my life is on standby. So, starting my YouTube channel is me putting my dream into actions, and I can't wait to start documenting everything. If y'all knew how long it's taken me to start this channel, it's been something that I've daydreamed about for years, for literal years, but I'm starting it now. It's just one of those things that I've really wanted. So, I do plan on documenting my journey in following my dreams and just setting new goals and being present. So, another way to make it adaptive is to romanticize my life, to inspire action, to inspire me setting goals that will get me towards what I envision for my life versus using it as a means to escape. I want to be fully present and engaged with life. I can still daydream, but it shouldn't replace real life. A good example of people putting their um daydreams into something like real is if you search maladaptive art on Instagram. I think that's the tag. It's people that create art based on what they visualize when they dream. And I think that's cool because we, like, not everybody can do this. Not everybody can be so immersed, create these different realities, and be so immersed into it. So that's a gift if you think about it. It's just how we utilize it. So if you're able to do that, then you can be putting it into action and into something that can inspire others, things that can help others, which is what I'm really wanting to do. It can also be used as a tool for manifestation, which I will make another video about. So yes, this is my first video. Get used to this beautiful face. But like, comment, subscribe. I'm really looking forward to documenting like me chasing after my dreams because I have a lot of things that I would like to accomplish. And yeah, bye.